You might be the first athlete I ever met who said they wanted to get good grades to get the girls. It's Charcha-cast again. I'm Nick Novak. Joining us today, professional footballer Kean Lewis, round glass Punjab in the I-League superstar, here with us today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Now, what's interesting about Kean is he played soccer, football. We'll go with football for the rest of this episode. He played football in the United States at university. And we haven't talked to a lot of people about sports journeys in university, so I thought we might do a little bit of that today. But first, Kean, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from originally?
So my hometown is down south in Mangalore, Karnataka. But I'm born and brought up in Mumbai. I always say Mumbai because everyone knows Mumbai, but if you want to be more specific, Thane.
Okay.
So it's about an hour away from proper Mumbai.
Sure. So you're from Thane. We'll call you a Mumbaiker for the sake of this program. So you ended up at University of the United States, obviously, but that journey to get there is kind of interesting as well. Talk a little bit about your youth and how you sort of managed to find your way to the United States.
So I began playing at a very young age. Nobody in my family comes from a sporting background, so it was very tough to get guidance. But we were always seeking for opportunities to grow, and India wasn't at a very high level in terms of football. I continued to play at one of the best academies in India in Jamshedpur called Tata Football Academy.
Let me just, how do you get into that academy? Like, what is that?
So I used to play for a club called Mahindra United, shut down now, but they used to have their trainings at Kandivali. So that was the closest for me when I was a younger kid. And they had training every day on a grass pitch, really good players, really good staff, and a very good senior team. So they were, at that point, they were probably one of the top two teams that used to finish in the I-League. So I used to play for the junior team. I played about 5 years there. And we happened to play, so something like you have a junior MLS, we have something called a junior I-League. So as an under 19 category, we went and played in Jamshedpur. And one of the coaches of the Tata Football Academy happened to see my game and see us play. And at that point, he came into our dressing room post our match and offered me and another kid from our team to come into the academy and join the academy for the next 4 years.
What does someone like that look I mean, again, I am not a football expert. I enjoy watching it on TV. But what is a scout like that? What are they looking for? There's 22 of you between the two teams on the pitch. Like, what is it about you that stands out when you're, how old are you at this point, 12, 13?
20. When I got selected, I was 15.
Okay, so you're 15, so there's a pitch full of 15-year-olds. What makes you stand out?
So it's quite, it's quite difficult to know what they were looking for, but I think at that moment they required players in certain positions at the academy. They only host and accommodate the best of India. So they actually go out and handpick the players that are got into the academy because the Tata Group is actually sponsoring those kids for the next 4 years with boarding, lodging, training.
Okay.
So they wouldn't pick out anybody. They only pick out guys who they think can have a career in football.
But were you like super fast or?
Yeah, I used to be a fast kid.
Okay.
So I was very lean and probably thinner than I am right now. And yeah, pretty much I had a very good tournament that year. I played all the games. Unfortunately, I think we lost in the quarters. I'm not too sure about that, but we lost 2-1. And all the previous games I had were very good. I was leading in the scores and in goals with my club, Mahindra, and I used to be a striker at that point.
Okay.
So he just happened to be watching those games, and until he came into our dressing room, I had never heard of Tata Football Academy. I never knew how big it was until the opportunity came by. And then obviously,
Really?
yeah,
That's kind of a cute story, right? You're like, I don't know what this Tata thing is, but okay.
correct. So I just went to play, and as a kid, I was a very like not too informed kid, very naive. I was just happy playing football, and I was like, well, I'm getting to kick the ball. I'm on the field playing. I'm happy. So we actually came back and we did a bit of research as to what Tata Football Academy was. We spoke to my coach, who was there, and he said, look, this is an opportunity you cannot pass up. You have to go. And so that's how I ended up going to Tata's. And before that, the Leicester story happened because I was playing with Mahindra for 5 years, and Leicester happened to go about when I was 13.
Okay.
Much before. I mean, I started playing for Mahindra when I was 12. But Leicester happened through another academy which I went to in Mumbai, which is called PIFA. And with the help of them, they do a lot of camps abroad, so they know the director of Everton. They've been for, at that point they were already visiting stadiums and Old Trafford, and they were organizing camps from India to the UK for kids to have a camp there, to play tournaments there and watch EPL games. So they happen to have some contacts with some agents there and all of that, and that's how the Leicester City trial came about. And one of the recommendations from post the trial with the director of Leicester City was that they would take me into the Leicester Academy as long as I was staying there. Because they have something called like a 10-mile radius. You have to be living within that, so you can be part of the academy. Whilst you are a minor, you have to be within those like restrictions that they have. So for me, I was a minor. Obviously, I couldn't go by myself, which means my whole family had to relocate. And not being from a sports background and no kind of guidance, my family didn't want to like pick up bags and move to a whole new country, and not knowing what work to do. And
okay, well, so how old are you at this point?
Right now?
When you go to Leicester?
13.
Like, what is going through your head at this point? Are you thinking next stop Premier League? Like, I mean, this has got to be pretty heady stuff for a 13-year-old.
Yeah. So as a kid, when you would ask anyone in my school or my class, if you said, what do you want to be, we would always be talking about United and Chelsea, Liverpool. But realistically, like nobody had ever made that step. Nobody really went from like India directly into the EPL or anywhere. So for me, just to be able to get there, like I was really excited. To be honest, I played part of their postseason. So I went there as a striker. Obviously, the level was very high.
Can you tell right away that the level is like?
Yeah. So I trained and played with 2 age categories. So for under 14, so I was 13 at that point, and the moment I turned 14, I would be in the under 16. So they were testing me out for both the age categories. So under 14, I was doing excellent. I was the top scorer in the postseason. Like I matched the kids for height, weight, speed, all of that. But the moment I went to the under 16s, I could tell like they were like a couple of like a couple of meters faster than me at every point.
Right.
You know, in their decision making, in their power when they shoot the ball, in their speed and their runs and change of direction and all of that. So
just physicality.
Yeah, and physically, I was probably like 3 or 4, third or fourth last in terms of physicality, because I was like a skinny, scrawny kid. Technically, I matched them. But obviously when they offered me, they had to keep in mind like we need to develop him fast enough so that he can go into the U16s and U18s after that. So that was one of the considerations they made, and based on that, obviously we had the discussion, but it never materialized because financially we weren't doing so well enough in India for me and my parents to say, okay, we leave everything, we have enough money to rent a house there, to stay for them to find a new job and everything in that 10-mile radius which they wanted me in and all of that. So that never happened. So we continued, because they knew I love football so much, they continued to search other options. So another opportunity came up when I was 15 to go to a school in Italy called Ascoli. That didn't happen because I never ended up getting a visa.
Ah.
And then post that, Tara Football Academy happened, and I happened to go to Jamshedpur through the league, I-League I played.
So before we get into your journey over to New Jersey and Fairleigh Dickinson and playing in college, I just want to take you back to those two moments, one with Italy and one with Leicester. So first with Leicester, you're 13 years old. You can't make it work to go move to the UK. Are you like, man, 13, I was not like super well adjusted at 13. Are you like heartbroken at this point that, you know, I'm going back to India now, I can't stay here in the UK? Or were you pretty like what was going through your head as a 13-year-old?
I was a little bit, but I was at the same time happy to go back and play with my club. So for me, playing was more important. And at the moment I came back, yes, I was upset for the journey. I was like not sure about what the next step would be. But then the moment I went back, I had my club Mahindra where I went back to and started playing, and then the next tournament came and I was there and doing well. I was like, I'd forgotten about the UK lapse. So I was fine, and like if I go back and think about it, like as a 13-year-old, I wasn't that mature enough. I wasn't even a lot expressive enough. So it kind of just got bottled up, and I went on with playing and studying, because here India, studies take so much of your time, and
Sure.
like I just got occupied with that, because majority of the year I would end up missing classes, missing school, because I'm traveling for tournaments, I'm traveling for academy games or club games, and my school was very lenient, so they would be, okay, fine, you can go. But when I came back, I had certain obligations, and I was a very, like I couldn't stand just getting passing marks. I don't know whether that's, one is obviously partly because of like the way I'm built. I don't do stuff just to get it done. So it has to be done in a certain way. It has to be done to the best of the way it can be done. And the second would be, I think, a more case of like embarrassment, because I went to a co-ed school and marks were revealed out loud, so everyone knew how much you get, and then there's that some element of judgment that's passed based on how much you get and which girls will talk to you, which group you'd be in amongst the guys, and all of that. So
you might be the first athlete I ever met who said they wanted to get good grades to get the girls.
No, it was not to get anything. Yeah, it was just to just the way our society is, that I think a lot of judgment is passed based on numerical intellect, if you know what I mean.
Sure.
You're not necessarily street smart. You don't know how, like, nobody at that age probably has even traveled outside the state by themselves. And I happened to go to the UK and so, but nobody's judging that. Nobody's taking that into account. They're only considering what's happening in the classroom, how many grades you get, what is your numerical mindset. So
what are the marks on your exams? So okay, well apparently you did good in school, as it turns out. What's the point where you start thinking about how did the idea of going to school in the United States even come about? Like what started that?
So we had a lot of my cousins and my uncles and aunts who are still based in the US, and their advice was that if you aren't going to give up your education, which was never acceptable to my family, throughout school it was, as long as you keep your grades, as long as you go to school, you can play whatever you want. So I swam state, I ran state, but when the whole circle tried to change sport, came back to football, and that's where I excelled most at. So so they always said, you want to, and at that point I wanted to do something with sports. In India in 2010 there was nothing to do with sports management or sports business. So I wanted to do like a degree or something in that. So when I finished my degree, I could use it in the sports field.
Okay.
So the US was one of the options. Europe was one of the options. UK was one of the options. Now, obviously, we also had to factor in saying that UK, they have tons of kids getting into football. It's like cricket in India. So competition is really high. Plus the pound is higher. The next option in terms of currency, higher exchange, was Europe. So again, euro was high. And also it would determine where we went, because not all the places that we went in Europe had a good soccer program or football program and the degree that I wanted.
Okay.
So we finally came back to the US and said, okay, budget-wise, this works best. Family and support-wise, we have people who can come out and help you if there's anything needed. And you're getting what you want to study. So I think those were the factors that we then decided that US would be one of the destinations that I would end up going for, soccer and the education. Now, all credit goes to my parents, because I was still at Tata Football Academy while they did the research. So like I said, 15, 16, 17, before I left when I was 17. I just went for my SAT and TOEFL classes, in juggling between morning training and evening training.
Wow.
And they did all the recruiting, and they were actually at the US consulate coming in for all the workshops with the universities that they organize, and getting in touch with the coaches, with the academic advisors at the universities via email, sending in all my scores, the packets with my certificates, all of that. So that's how it began. And then from there on, we got replies from Fairleigh Dickinson, from Wesleyan, from Ohio State, and all of them. And then we then categorized them into Division 1, Division 2, Division 3. And obviously my major, once I knew that was sports management, I said we're sticking to only universities that offer that. So we kind of then funneled it down. And then I happened to go to the US for a short break to visit my family. And we spoke to some of the coaches and said, I'm on vacation. Can we get like a look in? So the New Jersey coach happened to, so they have to do this all unofficially, because it's not possible under NCAA rules. So there was a pickup match happening, and then I said, I'll play in that, and you can have a look. You don't have to make, it's not official. So he happened to just come by and have a look. His sent his assistant, and my parents were there as well. So they were speaking with him, and I was playing. And within, I think, 4 or 5 minutes, they went to my dad and said, we're willing to give him a scholarship, and we want him at our university.
So this is kind of a big deal. Two things I think to address. One, for those who don't fully understand, collegiate sports, college-level sports in the United States is a huge, huge deal. Extraordinarily competitive, especially at this Division I level. So it's Division I, Division II, Division III, and NAIA.
Correct.
And so Division I is the sort of the top of the pops, and it's really, really competitive. And it's also one of the only divisions that offer scholarships specifically for athletics. And that's a big deal to get a scholarship to a Division I university. I mean, well, you're a professional footballer now, so obviously it was the right thing, but still. Was that the only school to offer you a scholarship then, or?
No, so they offered me because my academics were good.
Right.
So they offered me a student and an academic and an athletic scholarship.
Okay.
But I had a full ride from Wesleyan, but it was 3rd division.
And you said, I want to play with the big dogs, Division I. Okay.
So I went on to play 1st division.
Okay, so you get into Fairleigh Dickinson.
Yeah.
You get on the plane in Mumbai. You land in New Jersey this is your official part. You're going to school. Are you by yourself? Did your parents come with you?
No,
You're by yourself.
myself. So I was by myself, and later on I figured out all the kids do everything by themselves, but for me it was like this part is very new, and like I was standing there and like my first visit, because there's certain, like the US is very organized in terms of the way the procedure is. So for me to check into the dorms, I need to get a clearance from the residential people in the financial department, and the financial building closes at 5 p.m. So you got to make sure you're there before it, or you got to wait the next day. It opens at 9. All of that. So fortunately, I was there before 5, and my coach, who's still a coach, he's been the coach for the last 20-25 years at Fairleigh Dickinson. So I had obviously spoken to him saying that I'm arriving, blah, blah, blah. Came in and he helped me kind of figure out things. I had to go to the financial building, and there was some probably payment that wasn't recognized or had to be credited or something. So I had to actually get on call with my family and be like, okay, what is the thing? Because I had absolutely no idea of what had to be paid, what was covered, did I have to show any bills, paperwork, nothing. So I just like an honest kid just packed my bags and showed up. I was like, okay, the door's going to be open. And then they kind of ran me through of this is what you need, this is what you, so I actually like.
So you felt some good support then
yes.
from the school.
So there was definitely a lot of support. And yeah, we got things sorted out, and since my coach lives in New Jersey, he was like, worst come situation, we'll put you up in my house.
Oh, right on.
So, so they're very accommodating, and there was always like, I mean, to be honest, the residential halls or like the gym or anywhere, like you could sleep anywhere. It's like so clean and warm, and there was no issue. Because I went like right after fall, like in August, because that's when we had preseason. The good part was because I went in for preseason, there were no other kids on campus.
Okay.
So it was only the athletic people who were starting in fall. So some of the athletics, like the outdoor track and field, people never came in for preseason. It was only soccer that came in for preseason. So we were like the only kids on campus. The administration buildings were still open, and you know, my coach can pull some strings because there's not so much work going on. So in that way, I was, because I've seen how it becomes like right when semester is about to begin for the rest of the school.
And that's a fairly big school too, right? Like
Yes.
10,000 people or something.
Yes.
So there's a lot of kids running around.
So it was really like, it was pretty easy for me post that. Besides, some of the blame would be on me because I was like a very shy and quiet kid. I'd not gone out doing admin stuff until then.
I know, I just like this image of you getting off the plane and like, here I am. So you'd gone to school in India for your whole life.
Correct. Yes.
Talk about going into your university class in the United States and what that was like for the first time.
So the first 2 years, I just went like I was going in India. Like I used to attend every class at the right time, before time or on time, and I was taking it way too seriously. And my roommate was like, oh, you know, you can miss a certain amount of classes, right? Like you are eligible to pass the class even if you miss, I think, 2 or 3 classes, depending on how long the class was and how many credits it was. And as athletes, we also got some kind of exception when we traveled, and we got a letter in and all of that. So he used to be like, why you go to every class like on time? And he's like, you can go late too. Nobody really is going to catch you, and as long as you get your work done. So so over a few semesters, I caught up with the concept of how relaxed it was. Obviously, in terms of the work and the assignments and exams, it was easy for me because one is obviously I was interested in sports, so it was all the stuff that I wanted to learn, like nutrition and injury and health and sports law. And the other was like I came from ICSC background, which is like one of the toughest syllabuses in India. So I was used to learning like a bunch of irrelevant material and like putting it on paper. So for me, when I got multiple choice, I was like, well, at least if I don't know, I can pick one, and maybe I have like 25% chance of getting it right.
That might be my favorite thing you've said so far. I was used to learning irrelevant information, putting it back on paper. So what I hear you saying is the focus was more on sort of results and understanding the material versus the process of I showed up every day and took good notes and could regurgitate information, that it was sort of more about creative problem solving and that type of thing. So
it was more about stuff that I would be using in like after my career in the sports or after I finished my education. Because when I was here, I never studied anything sports related.
Right.
We had just one PT class a week, and that was it. Education-wise, there was nothing. There was no, like, we just were taught like food pyramid, and that's it. But like nutrition was like a specific subject, and it was what you would eat before games, after games, during games, BCAA, XYZ things. So injury-wise, it would speak of specific injuries or like the most risk factors causing injury and your precaution or post-rehab or stuff like that. And those were all things that at some point I was going through or I could use. So it wasn't useless information. Like nutrition was important to me because as an athlete, I was injury. I happened to have a very serious injury for the first time in my career in the US, and my injury classes taught me more about how do I deal with it, you know, not just physically but mentally, emotionally. How do I deal with it off the field, all of that. In addition to that, there were a lot of practical assignments. What we, at that point in India, we never did, which is like if I say we're studying environmental studies in India, they teach us about biogas and how it is made and what is made from and what can be used, but we've never actually gone to a biogas plant to see it. So we don't, everything is just how we picture it in our head. We've never actually gone to a facility to see the functioning of it. But when I did like my marketing class or when I did like a social media class, our assignments were more on the field. They would be like, go to a basketball game, and the class would be on the basketball field or the benches, and the assignment would be like, find out what are the sponsors, what are the marketing strategies they're using, how are they advertising their brands and stuff like that. So it was stuff that wasn't readily available in a book.
Yeah.
You had to go and apply what they taught you in the class to see how it translates into the real world.
What did you miss about India when you were in the United States?
I would say just food.
Food.
That was
It's
the
always
thing.
food, right? You always miss your home cooking.
Yeah, I mean, most of the time I had cafeteria food, which is like burgers and pizzas. And
Yeah, good thing you were an athlete too, because a lot of you had this thing called the freshman 15, where usually people put on 15 pounds their first year because they're eating pizza and
Yeah.
spaghetti and all.
So yeah, when I came back, I was like, even till today, I don't like pizza or burger or any of that. And I worked at Subway, so I don't like Subways anymore.
Did you really work at Subway?
Yeah.
You were a sandwich artist.
Yeah. So I worked Subway and I ate Subway for 3 months, and I was like, okay, no more.
What's your favorite sub?
Barbecue.
Barbecue. Okay, interesting.
Well, that was when I used to eat non-veg, so now I don't eat non-veg. So yeah, it's been a lot of changes since I went there and came back, but I think food would be the major change, and I would say like to a certain extent the culture. I mean, we have too many festivals in India, so what I've also noticed was with my family here, even not immediate, extended family, when there is a festival or there's a celebration or you need help, they will drop everything or they will make time for you and come help you or invite you over. There it's very specific festivals like Thanksgiving, 4th of July, Christmas, New Year, Easter. Not too many festivals. But also like when you're visiting, like if I wanted to visit quite often, they are able to take only a certain amount of leave, and the rest of the time they'll say, look, you can come, we'll give you the keys, stay in our house, roam away wherever you want, but I have to go to work.
Yeah.
So that culture is very different in the US as in India. So right now, like I do freelancing and stuff like that, and people want to take leave for every festival, and it's like a week's leave, and I was like, look, when are you going to work then? You know, can't give you that much leave.
Speaking of culture, did you, I'm trying to think what a good way to ask this is, ever experience any kind of discrimination or racism directed at you, or any weird cultural clashes when in America?
No, I wouldn't. I didn't face any such thing as racism or anything like that. But yes, there was always, I would say, like friendly banter in in our team.
Yeah, you played sport. Yeah, sure.
We had about 15 different nationalities in our soccer team.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it was a quite diverse group of people. But yes, because of the way Russell Peters or comedians, or there's certain norms that have been portrayed about Indians, there are certain ways that not only just people in the US but everywhere. Like we had English kids on our team, we had Norwegian, Danish kids. So in their mindset, they always thought of India as cricket, curry, studious, and like dressed up in like sari and Indian outfits or something. So some of them found those things very like glamorous, like they liked Indian dressing or they liked Indian food. And some of them would just say, oh well, you guys eat only curry or you guys only make curry. So those differences were always there. But for me, I think the first major difference in terms of academics would be the plagiarism issue. So when we do projects in India, you're literally just picking out stuff from the internet and handwriting it down. But in the US, you're actually, everything's electronic. So you're actually submitting all your assignments, and then they have a software which runs through your data where you've taken it off from. So when I went the first time, I had no idea. The professor said, okay, this is your assignment, this is what you need to find out, and go do the assignment, write it. So I was like, okay, cool, just Google stuff, copy paste, and he was like, well, it doesn't have to be handwritten, you just print it out and give it to me, and an email copy will be like, send an email copy. So that's what I did, and he prints out his sheet, which I've sent to him, and I get my sheet, and he's highlighted everything, and he's like, well, you just taken everything off the internet. So I was like, yeah, well, that's how we do it in India. And then he was like, no, you cannot just like write all of the stuff from the internet. You need to like either paraphrase it, and then you need to cite it, and then there has to be like citation index at the end and all of that. And I think that was the most tedious part of all my assignments. You have MLA format and APA format and all, getting them in those formats. Of course, now they have, I mean, at that point they had like the format, but you still had to put in like the author, the year of publishing, the editor, and all of the page number, all of that. So that was my first encounter with a change in the academic system. I was obviously very happy with like multiple choice questions. I was like, give me as many exams as you want, but these homework assignments where I can't copy off the internet is like, I got to break my head and figure out what to write.
Yeah, but you got your head around it.
Yeah.
So I know we're a little short on time, so I want to fast forward a little bit here. Talk me up towards you getting ready to graduate. What's going through your mind at, I don't know, 6 months away from graduation? Like, are you thinking, okay, I've got a professional football career lined up, maybe I'm going to do sports marketing? Like, where are you at?
So I graduated a semester early.
Oh, wow, good for you.
So one of the reasons I also pushed for graduation, because we had our fall season and then our spring season was nothing.
Okay.
We just played a bunch of friendlies. So I obviously had spoken to my athletic advisor, my academic advisor, my coach, saying that it doesn't make sense for me to do more credits every semester, because I used to pass all my classes. So I think you could take a maximum of 18 credits a semester. And with that, I was in line to graduate a semester early. So my coach was like, just take 15. Why do you want to take 8? And I was like, yeah, but I got to stay another semester and pay for rent and everything. So just fast forward, and once fall semester is over, if I graduate, there's nothing happening in terms of football for the next semester. So there's no point of me staying. So I continued to take 18 credits. And one of the things at that point I realized is I should have started working immediately the first year that I came in, like the first semester, because I wasted 2 years, like just going to classes, going to training and back. But of course, the next 2 years I worked in the gym, I worked with my coach.
But how do you have time for that? You got a full load of classes.
Yeah.
You're a scholarship athlete at Division I school, so athletics is taking up a lot of your time.
Correct.
Where do you have time to go to work?
So my schedule looked like I went for classes between 8 in the morning to 2. I went for training between 2 and 5, and then I worked from 6 to 10 or 11.
Jeez, okay.
Like daily.
Man, brutal.
So one is obviously, yes, you got paid for it, and that helped in your rent, your food, all of that. And also I think the work experience. So I worked at all things that related to sports. So I worked with my coach at his summer camp. I worked at the fitness center, at the gym. In spring break or Thanksgiving break, I went over to like a soccer club and worked there for a couple of weeks, like an intern. So just I think as and when I completed my education, there were always advice and counseling about what you should do to build your resume, to put yourself ahead of everyone else to get a better job. Post-graduation, yes, I wanted to play, but since US is like very stat-oriented, my stats in terms of soccer weren't very great because my freshman year I sat out because we had like 7 or 8 seniors. My sophomore year, I started every game, but midway through the season, I tore my ACL. I couldn't redshirt, so I sat out the whole season. The next year, we made it till Sweet 16 of the tournament. So that was my highlight. I mean, the team's highlight year. And the following year, as a player, I went as a striker and came back a midfielder because that's where the coach saw me fit in the best. But in my last senior season, I went back to striker because all the strikers were doing horribly bad, and so I played striker. And personally, that would be my highlight season because I did extremely well, and like they awarded me with the MVP and all of that. But in terms of my next step in football, there was nothing. Like I didn't have any offer, or like they have the draft system or the combine, which is all solely based on stats.
This is for MLS.
For MLS, yeah.
Okay.
It's either you get picked out through your stats, or you have to actually like pay a fee and go to the combine, and then you have scouts sitting there who will pick you out. So I never ended up going for the paid combine or whatever because I had to keep my OPT and stuff intact. So I went from New Jersey to Texas, where my uncle used to live, and I had already 2 jobs lined up, like coaching jobs. And in the meantime, I had got my coaching licenses, and I still wanted to be in football. So I came to Texas and just started working. And then Houston Dynamo had tryouts, and I just went for their tryout.
Cool.
And out of 250 kids, 2 people got picked.
Yeah, and the rest is history.
And
Now you're back in India playing professional football. We are just about out of time, and I'm really appreciative of you discussing your academic journey with us a little bit. But what's next for you?
So obviously, one is to continue to play professional as long as I can. One of my dreams is also to get back abroad and continue working in sports. But in India, I'm also working to help kids like at my age where we didn't have the opportunity, to give them the opportunity that I never had. So I do freelance work with different kinds of companies or academies, and provide the opportunity and the kind of training that, or the system that I would not have had at that age of 12, 13. And I also do counseling for some of the kids to go abroad and get them, if they want to go for what sport they want to pick and what questions they may have. So I kind of help them with that.
Cool. Well, right on. Well, let's leave it there. Our guest today was Kean Lewis. You can catch him in the I-League starting soon. He'll be playing for Punjab. Very interesting story, an interesting guy, and someone we'll be rooting for moving forward. That's it for this episode. I'm Nick Novak.